A very good afternoon. This is Avinindra Som and you're listening to the news in detail on Gold FM.
The news headlines on Gold FM.
In your news headlines, government lacks vision beyond IMF. Eastern Province doctors resume strike. Protest today now calls for education reforms to stay. PM departs for Switzerland. Deadly train collision in Spain leaves dozens dead. Sri Lanka under-19 team to face Ireland in second World Cup match.
The top story on Gold FM.
For the current administration in Colombo, the International Monetary Fund's extended fund facility has become more than a loan. It is the definitive map for the nation's recovery. But this reliance on external stabilization has created a policy vacuum where long-term growth should be. These are the thoughts of Professor W. A. Vijayawardena, a former deputy governor of the central bank. While the IMF-mandated reforms have successfully brought inflation down to 2.1%, GDP growth for 2026 is currently projected at just 4.5%. Now, this falls significantly short of the 8% threshold economists suggest is necessary to offset the massive wealth erosion seen during the 2022 crisis. Dr. Vijayawardena warns that the current administration's willingness to just go along with the IMF's mantra will ultimately have detrimental effects.
Economic growth comes from people working harder than before, and we have to produce more goods and services for that purpose. For example, suppose we have produced 100 coconuts in 1 year, and then if we have produced say 120 coconuts in the next year, so in our real consumption level naturally goes up. So that comes from the investment. Investment is not only in the physical assets like roads, power plants, ports, airports, buildings and so forth. Investment in human capital is also one of the important things, and also the development of the productivity in the country, because when you have the human capital which is a higher level, and when the human capital works at a more efficient level, their productivity level also goes up, and as a result 1 unit of human capital now produce more. What I find is that there is no such plan introduced by the government led by Anurakumar Dissanayake, because they are very happy about going by the monetary sector stabilization program given to them by the International Monetary Fund, and they think when we get the next installment, next tranche of the extended fund facility, we have solved all our problems, which is not correct. Because what it means is that if the income doesn't go up at the required level of say 7 to 8 to 9%, people will find that they will not be able to meet their even day-to-day requirements at the current high price levels, which had gone up because of the bad economic policies implemented by previous Gotabaya Rajapaksa government. So for that purpose, there must be a specific plan developed by the government, which should be implemented with the support of the private sector, and the plan will have to be introduced, and also it has to be monitored, the progress has to be monitored. I don't find a mechanism to do this in the present level of the administration.
This is the local news on Gold FM.
In your local news, patient care across Sri Lanka's eastern province reached a standstill today as medical professionals walked out for a second time. The Government Medical Officers Association demands the immediate removal of the Akkarepattu Base Hospital medical superintendent, citing arbitrary conduct and administrative failures. While the union briefly suspended previous action for the Thai Pongal festival, they claim officials provided no solutions during the hiatus. Speaking in Colombo, GMOA spokesperson Chamil Vijay Singha warned that unless the Ministry of Health addresses these grievances by January 23rd, the regional dispute will escalate into a nationwide strike. The current industrial action left hospital wards deserted and clinics shut, causing severe hardship for those seeking urgent treatment. A separate health crisis looms for Wednesday as the Government Radiological Technologists Association announced a 24-hour symbolic strike across 140 hospitals. The second wave of protests targets the Maligavatta Kindi hospital, where the deputy director allegedly permitted unqualified personnel to perform specialized radiological examinations. Now, protests erupted outside the Ministry of Education today as parents demanded the immediate implementation of Grade 6 educational reforms. The Grade 6 Parents Collective leads the demonstration, insisting that the government roll out the new curriculum this year, despite a prior decision to postpone the changes. Protesters across Kalutara, Galle, Ratnapur and Kandy joined the agitation, with some families threatening to withdraw their children from schools entirely if the reforms remain stalled. The movement is intensified today following a meeting with the Education Ministry Secretary earlier this week. Ravindra Rana Singh, coordinator of the collective, confirmed that a formal memorandum will reach the President's office later today. The unrest spread to Ruanwala last night, where Samik Janabala Vega's supporters held a torchlight to show solidarity with the parents. However, several professional bodies expressed caution during separate briefings in the capital. Leaders from the Principals Grade Union and Ceylon Teachers Union and the National Teachers Movement, alongside Vasanta Mudalige of the People's Struggle Alliance, voiced their concern regarding the transition. The ministry faces mounting pressure to resolve the curriculum dispute this academic year. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa describes the protection of Sri Lanka as a collective responsibility following a period of significant national tragedies. Speaking at the unveiling of a statue of God Sumanasoman in Bulat Kahupetiya today, he stressed the importance of moving the country forward through unity. In the interest of clarity, we have left the opposition leader's remarks undubbed.
කෙටි කාල පරිච්ඡේදයක් තුළ අපේ රට බරපතල ඛේදවාචකයන් දැවැන්ත අභියෝග ගණනාවකට පාස්කු ත්‍රස්ත ප්‍රහාරය කොරෝනා කෝවිඩ් වසංගතය රට බංකොලොත් වීම තිත්වා සුලිකුණාට මේ අභියෝගත් සමග අපේ රට ආරක්ෂා කිරීමේ ඉදිරියට ගමන් කිරීමේ වගකීම අපි හැමදෙනාම සපෝතින අභියෝග රසකට මුහුණ දී තිබෙන අපේ මේ රට සුරක්ෂා කර අපි හැමෝම අත්දැකගන්න අපේ යුතුයකම් අපේ පංගු අපේ කොටස ඉෂ්ට සිද්ධ කරගන්න විශේෂයෙන්ම දරු परंपराව ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න මව් परंपराව කාන්තා පරපුර රැකගන්න තරුණ පරපුරට ශක්තිය ලබා වැඩි හිටි සියලු දෙනා රැකවරණයට ලක් සමත සෞභාග්‍ය උදා වෙන යුගය අපේ රටේ නිර්මාණය වේවා කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරමු විපක්ෂයේ ඉඳගෙන වැඩ කරන එක මේ රටේ පවතින සමාජ දේශපාලන සංස්කෘතියට විරුද්ධව යන වැඩක් කවදාකවත් විපක්ෂයේ ඉඳගෙන මේ වගේ වැඩක් කෙරෙන්නේ නැහැ කෙරුණේ ඒ සමහරෙක් මේව රෝහල් වලට උපකරණ ලබා දෙන එක සමච්චලයට ලක් කරනවා විහිළුවට ලක් කරනවා ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඒක විනෝදයක් ලබා ගන්නට මට ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. නමුත් මේ යුතුයකමක් ඇයි මෙහෙම දෙයක් කරන්න කියන එක මේ ඉන්න ජනතාවට හො පැහැදිලි.
In more local news, police investigators revealed that a retired army captain recently arrested for possessing 18 T-56 magazines and 25 rounds of ammunition acted under orders from an overseas-based alleged organized criminal known as Karandini Sudha. The Western North Crimes Division apprehended the suspect while he hid at a residence in Negombo. Following the interrogation, officers recovered the buried munitions from a plot of land in Minuwangoda belonging to the suspect's brother-in-law. Intelligence reports suggest the retired officer maintained close ties with high-profile criminals and previously attempted to provide transport for the late Ganemulli Sanjeeva upon his arrival in the country. Beyond his alleged criminal associations, the suspect reportedly served as a coordinating secretary for several prominent politicians and faced separate accusations of job recruitment fraud and illegal treasure hunting. Now, in a separate development, police arrested a 19-year-old in Kalania in connection with the fatal shooting in Kaduel earlier. Investigators identify the teenager as the driver of the getaway van used to transport the gunmen who killed one individual and injured two others in the Koratat area. Both suspects remain in custody as authorities broaden the inquiry into organized crime networks. Now, in the meantime, the Sri Lanka United Gramanildari Association announced a total withdrawal from the distribution of relief funds for homes damaged by Cyclone Ditwa. Members refused to facilitate the 500,000 rupee allowance earmarked for properties with partial structural damage. Union President Nandana Ranasinghe states that significant flaws within the current fund allocation framework make the process impossible to manage fairly. The association points to systematic weaknesses in the distribution method as the primary reason for this sudden strike. Ramanilda explained the existing setup creates unnecessary complications at the local level. The decision threatens to delay vital financial aid for thousands of families struggling to repair their residences in the aftermath of the storm. Customs officials confirmed that more than 1,500 containers of imported onions remain stuck in port warehouses due to a breach of government deadlines. Customs spokesperson Chandana Punchiheva explains that while the state permitted private imports to ease shortages, a gazette notification required all shipments to arrive before the 10th of June. Fresh data from the Department of Census and Statistics reveals a climb in the national computer literacy rate to 38%. The survey highlights a significant digital divide between urban and estate sectors, though youth aged 15 to 19 lead the way with a 75% proficiency rate.
Now for some news in brief.
Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya left the island today to participate in the 56th World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos, Klosters, Switzerland, which is set to run from today until the 23rd of January.
The business news on Gold FM.
Japan allocated 18 billion rupees to restart 75 development projects across Sri Lanka after a 4-year suspension caused by the economic crisis. This decision follows the successful completion of debt restructuring and includes central rural infrastructure work in the northern, eastern, north central and Nuwa provinces. Contractors receive instructions to finish road, irrigation and water supply sub-projects expeditiously to bolster regional recovery. The World Bank predicts a slowdown in national economic growth over the next 2 years as structural weaknesses and global uncertainty impact the recovery. Real GDP growth looks set to dip 3.5% this year and 3.1% in 2027. Despite these cooling figures, strong tourism and remittances from abroad continue to bolster foreign reserves and maintain a current account surplus.
International news on Gold FM.
Emergency crews in southern Spain continue to recover victims from a catastrophic high-speed train collision near Córdoba. At least 21 people died and dozens sustained injuries when a Madrid-bound train derailed and struck an oncoming service in Ademuz. Of the 400 passengers and staff on board, Andalusian emergency services confirmed 24 individuals remain in serious condition, including 4 children. Transport Minister Oscar Peunte describes the incident as extremely strange, noting that all railway experts remain baffled by the crash.
Entertainment news on Gold FM.
Roger Allers, the co-director of Disney's animated classic The Lion King, has died at the age of 76. Visual effects supervisor Dave Bossert and Disney CEO Bob Iger both confirm the passing of the visionary filmmaker who helped define a golden era for animation. His career spanned decades of storytelling, including work on Aladdin and The Little Match Girl, leaving behind a legacy that inspires audiences worldwide.
Sports news on Gold FM.
The Sri Lankan Under-19 squad is set to take on Ireland in their second match of the Under-19 Cricket World Cup. The match will kick off at 1 p.m. Sri Lankan time. Sri Lanka will be looking to continue their dominant start where they beat Japan by a dominant 203 runs. India maintained the top spot in the latest ICC One-Day International rankings with a rating of 121, despite suffering a first home series loss to New Zealand in 37 years. And that's all the news for now. Stay tuned to Gold FM for the latest updates and the next news highlight at 1:30 p.m. This is Abhinandra Soma for Gold FM News.